This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NSHSS Global Student Voices session. I'm Abby, Communication and Social Media Manager at NSHSS, and I have invited some of our ambassador and student council members who are our rock star student leaders of the society. Today, they're just going to be talking about kind of their thoughts, feelings, maybe predictions that they have as they navigate towards their academic and professional futures following the global COVID-19 pandemic. So I'll pass it along to Annika. She's going to tell you more about herself, and then we'll kind of do some brief introductions of everyone and get started. So take it away and have fun, you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, thank you, Abby, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So my name's Annika. I'm originally from Colorado, USA, but I'm now here learning in Kalmar, Sweden. I graduated high school last year, May of 2019, and I'm currently learning Swedish and international social work, hoping to start criminology next year. And as for my part in NSHSS, I joined 2 years ago, and as part of my experience with the student council is that I'm the student council's executive vice president of the student council general body. So yeah, if everybody wants to say their name, where they're from, what major they're taking, what school, and then yeah, how they're a part of NSHSS. Alessandro, you can take it away.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I am Alessandro De La Torre. I am a current rising sophomore in college, Whittier College, which is a local liberal arts college in Southern California. I will be majoring in political science and with a focus in American pre-law. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
All right, Elgin, if you want to take it away.
Oh, okay. There were popcorn.
Greetings and humble salutations. My name is Malik Rhymes. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida, Montgomery, Alabama originally. I'm a rising sophomore at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. My major that I've chosen is industrial engineering with a minor in business economics. So I do a lot of financial and math, so I'm good with sciences in general. A fun fact about me, I'm also a student athlete at my university. I play football as a linebacker, and I'm a part of the executive board as a co-vice president of scholarship development. That's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And what position do you have here in the student council of NSHSS, Elgin?
I'm the co-vice president of the scholarship development, Rishi Bashir.
Okay, awesome. Will our next person take it away?
Okay. So my name is Vihasi. I'm originally from India, just moved here from California. So I have been to a bunch of places. So right now, currently, I'm in Breckenridge, Texas. I'm a senior in high school, and I will be attending Abilene Christian University fall of 2020 with double majoring in biochemistry and psychology. And I'm also a student athlete. I play badminton all 4 years, so it's been great. Yeah.
That's awesome. And what's your position here with NSHSS?
So currently I'm an ambassador of NSHSS, and next year I will be joining student council.
That's awesome.
Okay, so my name is Vedangi Turvedi. I am also originally from India. I came to the United States in 2010 when I was only 8 years old. I am currently a high school junior at Winter Springs High School, and I'm also an NSHSS ambassador.
That's awesome. Looks like we got a huge variety of people here. I'm so happy to meet all of you and start off this discussion. We'll start off with your guys' opinions on e-lessons. Now that for most of us it might have been our first ever semester, trimester learning completely online. How do you feel that went, and what are your pros and cons of that?
I mean, I can go first. I think I have a varied opinion on e-lessons. So we were basically told in March that there wouldn't be any. And then they reverted that back a week later and said, by the way, go in Google Classroom. You're going to be graded on all this stuff. So right off the bat, it wasn't very positive, especially like on our side as students. So yeah, we were using Google Classroom, but there was a severe disconnect between how the professors can actually use the content. They really didn't know how to use Zoom. They really inexperienced how to like even grade. A lot of timing was just like at the window because they would ask for very obscure deadlines. So my opinion on e-lessons, while it may be skewed, is very negative because I've just seen how when it's ineffective, it's just not going to work.
And Vihasi, as being a student athlete, how has e-learning affected you in your education and also your extracurriculars in badminton specifically?
So being a student athlete, it really did affect us in a way that seasons got canceled. And as far as me being a senior is concerned, it was definitely what I planned to do my senior year, like e-learning and stuff. Like Alessandro mentioned, that a lot of my classes, which I took from community college, like dual enrollment and stuff, most of the teachers, even though Canvas is the main way to kind of go with the community college route, but a lot of the things there were solid due dates for the assignments, but teachers did not really grade them. So even though my classes is over, my assignments are still not graded, and I don't know what I'm gonna get. So that kind of gives me no opportunity to kind of make up if I like mess up somewhere. And as far as badminton and all that stuff is going, pretty much we did prepare for it and it just got canceled. That's the only thing. And then I did start the NSHSS chapter at my school. We had a lot of things in store that we planned like way ahead for this semester because I knew it was going to be my senior year and I had a bunch of other things to take care of, and everything got just like didn't get the opportunity to just make it happen. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely disappointing. And that kind of leads me to the next question about how you guys ended up finishing out this spring semester. Were there traditions that you missed? Were there traditions that you were able to make up somehow virtually? Elgin, do you want to comment on this, or anybody else?
Yeah, I got you. Essentially for me, I kind of finished out the school year. It was my grades academically improved, but since I was a student athlete playing football at the university, this was going to be my first ever spring semester since I'm a freshman, just finished up my freshman year, and that was an experience that I was looking forward to because spring semester football in college, it's my first time ever being introduced to it, and once spring break came around, they had told us that all sports was canceled until further notice, and that was pretty heartbreaking. Especially with all of my friends from the college dorms, they really were expected to finish out and have that quality full freshman year from fall or summer, fall, and spring semester. You know, have finished it out, but it was kind of hard and difficult with the online classes. I mean, some students weren't, or most students, if they moved out for that spring semester, for the spring break, they weren't able to get back their items that they left in their dorms until like 3 days ago. So it's been about like a month and a half since they were able to get everything back. And, that kind of sucks, for people who were only just to leave for a month, or not a month, but a week, and a lot of their stuff was still there. So It was a hard adjustment, but I think now everybody's kind of gotten on the track of, okay, well, this is a situation. This is how we're gonna have to handle the situation. You know, um, that's basically how it worked out over my university.
Okay, yeah. It sounds like you guys are really finding ways to push through this really weird time. Vedangi, do you have any positive experience from the changes uh, coming to us with the end of spring semester now that it's been online for the last few months?
Yes, I feel like now that the spring semester is almost over, we're having more time to do activities that we wouldn't be able to do, like paint and that. So, and it gives us a lot of time to think of our decisions that we're making.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Now, when I'm listening to my lectures, I actually have started embroidery and knitting. So, a little bit old fashioned over here, but it's really awesome because I haven't been able to like do that sort of artistic side in a long time since I've been so dedicated towards my academia and my educational career. So it's it's nice to kind of find myself in this time, although it's still a little bit harder to learn sometimes. Has anybody else picked up new hobbies with the time spent at home? Elgin, you look like you've picked up something.
I mean, I picked up a few things. Not really like pick up because I've always used to do this. Used to read a lot of books and then write poems, but I just never had time because throughout my high school and now in the college career, I was always in sports and taking extracurricular classes that were like pretty rigorous and time consuming. So never really had the time. But now I'm sitting at home most of the time. I'm writing poetry, reading a lot more books than I used to before. Um, by the way, I like more so like historical books, and 'cause it's always good to know history. And since I'm a little bit of a nerd myself, I like to indulge in like engineering books about math, physics, science, all that fun stuff. So you know, that's just my personal hobby that I started to pick up.
That's awesome. Yeah, the amount of TED Talks I've been watching is innumerable at this point. I kind of get stuck in a YouTube wormhole where I just let the TED Talks run and run and run. And I don't know, like 5 hours later, I'm like, wow, I know so much about, I don't know, octopus tentacles or something really weird. But it's fun because I've definitely had more time to learn things that I guess are interesting but outside of my career path. So that does actually lead me to another question that I had. How has this virus and our reaction to it affected your career path? I mean, for me, it hasn't affected it too much, but it definitely has slowed it down because I had to take a year off with not being able to start my degree program down in another city. But how has it changed your guys' scope or maybe what you're interested in now that you see what can happen in the medical field?
Well, I guess I go.
I think
Personally,
I'll take over that. Since
oh, you can go.
since I am about to start my journey as a medical professional later on, I still have like 4 years of undergrad to go. But I feel like it did not really change my choice of career because I always wanted to be a neurosurgeon. Um, so for me to choose that medical path from day one, I feel like I still want to keep going towards that. I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to kind of work with what we are going on right now. But I feel like I definitely want to be in medical field more since this pandemic came over, just to kind of like sooner or later when we find out the traces of this, I want to be like, oh, I know when this happened, and I know how this happened, because as of right now we have no cure, or we technically don't even know how this happens. So I feel like it would be like a great thing to be a part of later on, because sooner or later there are going to be like full out results as to how this happens and why it happens and why did it like grew so much in such a short period of time and stuff like that. So I think I still want to be in medical field.
That's awesome. We've heard a lot here at NSHSS that people going into the medical field actually, rather than being scared by it or intimidated, actually is making them feel more motivated, I guess, to assert their career path now that they've seen what can happen in the world with even with modern technology in vaccines and all of that. So that's really awesome that you are keeping strong on that. And I'll go over to Elgin. What did you want to say about that?
Well, personally, in my career paths for industrial engineering, there's definitely been like an economic change in my major in terms of like in the job career field. Because I know in high school when I was looking up, careers and what's the rise and demand and fall within the next 5 to 10 years, the job market is definitely is improving in the field for medical field and software development. And the reason software development has become a major step is because this is what we're going to use to communicate with one another until further notice. So if tech companies and medical staff, they're kind of like working hand to hand to alleviate the the spread of the pandemic, and that they're connecting us through technology and internet. And the more students the more need for it, and the worse the virus gets. But hopefully, I'm praying that we lower the curve. Uh, that more technology is going to be necessary to stay connected and be more efficient in our delivery of educational classes. Just staying connected with everybody because a lot of the states still locked down. Really, most of the world still locked down. So it's still a tough time, but career path. I still want to go towards my goal of being an industrial engineer.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to Elgin with um, they might not necessarily pursue a career path like me in criminology that is directly affected by the virus, but seeing how a virus like this has affected us educationally, academically, economically, preparing ourselves for a future, knowing that we're so intertwined nowadays is uh, definitely a need. And I think you have a really good and positive view. And I think that is awesome and something the world definitely needs. Is there anything Alessandro or Vedangi wants to say on this about how it's
Personally,
affected you?
no. I've always wanted to go into political science, so if anything, knowing or the reaction from the American pandemic response just makes me more inspired to get into politics, to hopefully make a change, of course, but to eventually try to figure out how um, America's fail-safe systems can be improved because they haven't been I think they haven't been updated since before our parents were born. So I think it's overdue for an upgrade.
And Vedangi, do you have anything to say about how your career path's been affected?
I always wanted to go into software engineering, so my career really hasn't been affected as much, but I feel like the online meets that we're having can be improved. So I feel like that's motivating me to go deeper into my field.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that everyone is still pursuing what they want to, having this true passion towards whatever career or justice you guys might have. It can be daunting, definitely, in these times to feel like things aren't moving, but it's awesome that you guys are still trudging forwards. And I guess that we can switch over to another topic about, I don't know if you guys have heard, but some college students are filing for refunds for like room and board and tuition now, because they've switched to online classes. What do you guys feel about that? I personally have been on online classes the entire time, so I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I could see how you might possibly want a partial refund for room and board if you have to live at home.
I mean, well, for me, room and board is $15,000 a year. So that is money that I won't get back. And if I'm not going to be there, what am I paying for? Is basically what I'm trying to say. Um, Usually with liberal arts campuses, there's a grass-fed or grassroots, sorry, not grass-fed. There's a grassroots activism a part of it. So the moment that the stay-at-home order was going to be effective, people knew for a fact that we're all going to be kicked out of our dorms and where we live. So for a fact, everyone knew, okay, like let's go to the dean's office, let's go to the financial aid office, and go to the president's office, like to ask them, will we get the money back? So they're pretty stickler. Most schools in Southern California are not giving money back. They're just doing price freezes because school in SoCal is not the price it should be. So instead of paying the money that we rightfully should have that we're not for the services that we're not using back, and they're just saying, oh, we won't increase tuition for the next 4 years. I'm still paying $60K at the end of the 4 years for a room and board that I'm probably not going to be in. So yeah, I'm a little mad about that.
That's insane. And as for room and board, what about onto the other part of the fees? Do you feel like tuition should be reduced since you're not getting the experience that you necessarily would be with living on campus and live teaching? Or what's your opinion on that, Alessandro?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak on my standpoint, but the reason people pay a little bit more for a liberal arts college is for that 12-to-1 or like super small class size, which is like something that like some people can work with, some people don't. But I think that's the reason why it's so expensive. So um, I guess it can be understanding if they want to keep it like that, because if they would have to lower the tuition, then you're gonna cheap out on the low class size. That's something that I prefer. So I'm personally okay with it. I'm okay with paying a little more on that end just to keep that small class size because I know the way that I learned, I can't learn in a big setting. I came from public high school, so I know that that's not the way for me personally. And I think like having like those small focus groups are a little better for me.
And what about you, Vihasi? How has that been affecting your opinion on this whole refund? Do you have a different opinion? Do you agree on some things?
Yeah, I definitely do agree because I am going to private as well. So it is a lot more expensive. So yes, I do agree with Alessandro that why do I pay for something that I'm not gonna use? Um, which for me, I did get a really good chunk of scholarship, but that still doesn't make it any better as far as like me utilizing their facilities. Um, because as of right now, they did give out a word that they're gonna reopen in fall 2020, but looking at how fast the cases are growing in, I really doubt that they're gonna do it because we have like very diverse population at that specific school. So if they do go online, then I don't see why I shouldn't be filing a refund. Because at the end of the day, I have a very long path even after undergrad, going to medical school and then whatnot. So every bit I can save, I'm gonna save and not be like, oh well, let it go kind of a thing. Because I'm paying a lot more than probably everyone else. So yeah.
Is anybody going to public school here? State university?
I am.
Okay. What's your opinion on the matter?
So for us, I believe that it is an adequate matter for a response for filing a refund. I know in our particular situation at FAMU, there was actually a big argument from the students to the financial department, financial aid office, that it wasn't fair that they got to leave halfway through, and that they wasn't gonna get their money back initially. And so there was petition signed. There was conferences, multiple Zoom conferences, with the president of the university, and then with the board of the financial development. And after I think about 3 or 4 weeks of just talking, going back and forth with the student council here at our school, it finally got passed that they decided to refund half of the tuition back and the room and board and the meal plans, because that's where really most of the money came from, depending on how much financial aid that you got initially. And so they also did it to where if you had a scholarship, like either academic or athletically, it would just be rolled over to the next semester. So you wouldn't get the money back right now. It'd just be a credit on your account. So money would just go down as it's going further and further into your academic career. Um, and personally, I feel like that's an adequate response. I'm kind of sorry to hear that in the private universities that there wasn't in California that wasn't trying to refund you the money, because $60,000, that's a hefty amount. Let me tell you. For my university, it's kind of a small university, only like 10,000 people. But it's public, so it's roughly around 18K if you're in state, and then if you're out of state, like 28K. So it varies in the price, but you know, I definitely feel like that sitting in a room board refunding for online classes is definitely a adequate response. I think every university should do it personally, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I mean, the numbers you guys are saying is stressing me out. Like 60K, 28K, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I'm super fortunate here that we don't have a tuition. We only have to pay room and board if we rent an apartment. Um, I mean, as for my online classes, I still have to pay for those because it's like an extracurricular sort of thing. But oh my goodness, I would be infuriated if I was in your
Yeah.
guys' position. I cannot believe even private universities are still holding on to that money. I hope they do some sort of credit system. That's that's insane. I'm just
I'm
off
not.
honestly.
I'm not.
Oh my gosh. What about you, Vedangi? How are things in your corner?
I'm only a junior, so I don't have to pay for any of my tuition yet. So I'm still good.
Well, since you're a little bit I guess fortunate in this situation, not having to be a college student in 2020, what do you think colleges, private and public, should be doing for your fellow college mates?
I feel like the refund is something that they should be thinking upon, because they're not technically getting the same experience as they would if they were going to the university and being a part of the lecture. So that I feel like should be something they should be thinking upon.
Honestly, my opinion on that, since we're like the uprising freshmen, we are in such a unique situation that we should not have tuition at all. That sounds so great to me right now. Just not having to pay because we survived, you know?
Yeah, no tuition, no room and board always sounds great. I mean, that's the reason I moved here
Yeah.
is because, yeah, I even before I left for the United States, like, yeah, I think in-state college tuition for Colorado was 40,000 for CU for Colorado State, and I don't have that kind of money, and so it it's insane that you guys at least some of you still have to pay that, even though it's like paying for groceries that you're never gonna get and nobody is ever gonna get. You're paying for groceries to rot or a room to be empty. That's insane. I really hope action is taken for you guys because we're already broke enough college students, aren't we?
No, and I'm sure that our governor is like super on top of it, and he wants to get reelected next year. So I'm sure he's gonna advocate for the students. I'm assuming that they're gonna take off the room and board price, and with like the additional like maintenance fees and like the food that they will be holding on campus. Like I'm not gonna eat there ever again for the rest of the year, obviously. So I can say like hopefully like a cool 25,000 will be taken off for my annual tuition. I think the average annual tuition is like half 100K, so it's like 48,000 a year. Um, Obviously, I'm working and applying to scholarships, plugging in those NSHSS scholarships, which are very nice to apply to. But yeah, so I'm sure that they're gonna cut down on the price because even if they don't give refunds, there's still going to be there has to be a way for them to return the price because people are going to know, and you rely on the students that are here this year to advertise for the students that are coming next year. So yeah, if they don't do anything, there's obviously going to be an issue with either low enrollment next year or they're going to feel it in some way.
I feel
Yeah,
like that has also a lot to do with students who are like kind of debating whether they want to go to college or not. Because if they hear something like, "Oh, you don't get refund for something that you're not good using," and I feel like a lot of people are gonna back off. That like, I'm not about that life. I don't want to pay too much. Which I totally understand because I would be the same way too. I haven't paid anything just yet, but if they give a word that everything is going to be online, then I'm definitely not willing to pay for board and tuition because I'm never going to use it at least for 1 year. So like if that would take off like about $10,000 off my what I have to pay for a year, it's just getting me like more security later on when I hit the grad school because it's only going to get expensive and there are not that many financial help later on because it's kind of like a career choice. You get most help in your undergrad years, and after that you are kind of just on your own. So I think that's something they should really consider.
Yeah, you brought up a very valid point about that. Because personally, in my experience, most of my friends, especially if they came from out of state and really some even in state, they really just questioning whether or not they were gonna go back to college this time this year. I know a lot of my friends they just decided to take the summer semester off, even though that they were like really geared towards finishing within those 4 years and going to their masters. They just said that this time, like that kind of like misconstrued a lot of things, and so it's like a changing of like how people think of, all right, well, should I go to a public or a private school? What's the point of paying, X amount of money for a private school when it's going to be the same educational type at the public school where I'm just going to be sitting on at my desk at home looking at a computer screen watching a professor talk for 2 hours and then going about my day, because that's also a big factor. And economically for universities, I know for mines, they were building new student housing for the juniors and seniors that wanted to stay on campus, longer. I know most people move off campus, but some people, they want to stay on campus. And if the dorms and facilities are nice enough that they were going willing to pay a little bit extra for nicer facilities, and they just like not even 2 weeks ago just finished building a whole multi-million-dollar student housing and a financial aid office, and they not even going to be able to use it potentially for the rest of the year, and that's like a lot of revenue that they're losing in terms of like the money that they expected to get from the room and board. So it's pretty hard.
yeah, that's an interesting point, Elgin. I didn't even think about that. The new buildings and constant, well, at least feels like constant construction under universities. I wonder how they're going to handle that economically, if they're going to still take it out with the tuition and room and board from other students, just because I'm going to assume they're in some sort of deficit with money if it's a multi-million-dollar building. Yeah, that's a very strange situation. That's a really good point you brought up, because I'm sure a lot of people are under the same situation, maybe students or college administration, that's like, well, we just spent a lot of money and now we're not having any income, or our students want to have some of their money back, but we bargained that we were going to have that money. So that's going to be an interesting future for colleges financially. Very interesting. Does anybody else have anything more to say on the topic before we move on? All right. I'm going to change our subject a little bit to a wider scope about social distancing. How do you guys think that's going to look when the virus is over, and then maybe in a year? Do you think we're ever going to go back to normal, or do you think social distancing might be the new norm?
So I actually took a class on this. It's interesting because back in the 80s, when like suburban life was like the thing, everyone was like, oh my gosh, we're never going to get out of our homes. Like everything will just be like to go or like delivered to us. And then it never ended up happening, right? Like we're us, right? Like we're us right now. But then all of a sudden that like stigma or like whatever that was going to like appear, it's suddenly happening now. And we're starting to learn about it. Well, I was learning about it originally. I mean, I thought it was so interesting to see how people originally saw that as the future, and it was like that. Like if you talked to us in January, we would have thought that was like so dumb for like them to think like this will be our future. But yeah, it was interesting to see how like most of the statements said like 30 years ago were like, okay, the jobs that people said you can't do it at home, you'll be able to do it at home. The work that people say that is indispensable, it turns out to really be indispensable. Yeah, I just think that was interesting how things from the past that were like seen as kind of like crazy or obscure are just suddenly like the new norm today.
Definitely. I mean, here in Sweden, we don't have social distancing actually, or masks or gloves. I think we're like the only country who has thousands of cases of corona, and I think now around 4,000 deaths, and nothing's been closed. Only high schools and colleges have been online. So I'm not sure if that is to protect cultural practices or habits. I'm not sure. I know back in Colorado where my mom is, they're on complete lockdown. And she's like, I'm never again going to the store without gloves and a mask, and I'm not touching anybody anymore. So,
I mean,
yeah, I think
I know that Sweden has like an excellent like fail-safe system. I know like their medical team, they're like really ahead of the game. I remember when the coronavirus started coming out really early, they started instantly on like measures to like increase medical productivity and like increase like medicine capacity for Sweden. So I think that's probably why you're having a better time than us over here in the US of A. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm having a great time. I'm not sure if the people having corona or like who died are having a great time, but I think, yeah, it's definitely interesting that we have this herd mentality. And on the note of, um, I guess, medicine in Sweden, that's actually one of the big reasons why we haven't closed down elementary and middle school here, because most of their parents, or most parents, are actually medical workers or necessary workers. So it was drawn that university and high school students can maintain themselves and practice school at home without being distracted, whereas it wasn't as easy for the younger kids. So it's an interesting mentality. So we have all medical workers on deck. It's just to see how different it's going to be with having all those other children out and about, if that's going to rise numbers or if it's not going to play a role in the end. What about Vedangi? What about you? How's it looking in your school? And what do you think it's going to society is going to look like in the future with social distancing?
I think social distancing is still going to be normal after this, because many people are trying to, they're keeping gloves, they're using masks. And I know my parents, they typically don't like to go outside, even though they're allowed to. They just want to stay home, and they're not letting anyone leave. So I feel like this is going to remain the same throughout the next couple of years, hopefully.
So I
What
think
about you?
my take on this is I get why they're shutting off high schools and basically any education facilities, but what about the people, like for us, we are still younger and we have a potential to maybe fight it off. But what about like the people who are like very elderly, like senior citizens and stuff like that? If the whole purpose is to kind of not make it spread so much like wildfire, they're not, I don't think, this is from Texas. So I don't think they're taking enough measures to kind of protect that side of the community. We can survive doing online schooling, but if they're not gonna have a lockdown, then people are gonna go on. And if I get it, I'll be possibly able to fight it off. But if I transmit it to somebody else, and if they don't, then it's only gonna get worse, you know? And the town I live in, there are like so many, almost like the whole town is of elderly people. So if we have one case here, this town is gonna be done in like no time. So I feel like lockdown is the only way to be out. Like since I'm from India, I'm like pretty touched with that. They have lockdown, like you are not allowed to go outside whatsoever. And if you try to be so smart and go outside, you get beat by police. So I think looking at the population in India, that's the only way to go about it. Because if we have like a numerous amount of cases in India, then there's the economic impact would be so much deeper and greater that India wouldn't be the same until like 50 years out from here. So it really depends on like the population and how people are good at following the rules and the guidelines they're given. Over here in the United States, people are pretty good with following that. In India, people are crazy. Like I shouldn't be saying this about my own country, but like that's the truth. People think that everything they do is they know what they're doing, but they're really not. Like they don't know what they're doing. They can fight it off, but like I said, the people they're gonna give it to cannot fight it off. So you're making it
Wait,
for you
Vahasi,
are
just
making
just curious. You said that they're taking the social distancing correctly in Texas?
no. Everything is open here, so definitely not. There are like groups of people everywhere. So
Okay,
I'm
okay.
talking, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like town like me is if we have one case, hopefully we don't have any. And right now the reports are we don't have any at all. So I hope it stays like this because my town is filled with a bunch of elderly people. So if one youngster, like let's suppose, hopefully not, if I get it and if I give it to somebody, they're not gonna be able to fight it off because of the age. You know what I'm saying? So I can fight it off because I have a stronger immune system compared to them. So if I give it to somebody else, they give it to the third person, and then it just keeps increasing. I might get better, but what about the rest that I give it to? So I feel like social distancing, even though the virus is gone and we don't have any increasing case, I think social distancing, well, it's hard to maintain a social distance. I get it. So I think since we are in this, might as well just extend it for a long enough time that like it's safe to go outside. Then like, oh, we don't have any cases. Let's just start going outside from tomorrow, you know? So
Well, I
I
have
feel like lockdown.
2,100 cases in my city, so I don't know about that. Yeah, that's a totally different story with me. Yeah, there's police out, and yeah, there's protests at our city hall because people want to go back to work.
Yes, I, I
Wow.
I did hear about that. For my town, actually, people are not taking it as seriously as the counties and towns that do have cases, because we don't have any. So everything is just kind of normal for us. And plus, on top of that, we don't have a lockdown. So it's like, oh, Corona everywhere else, but we don't know what that is.
It's kind of the same here, actually. I live in what's called like a, well, the stigma is that it's a retirement city. I live with my grandparents when I moved here because I moved here without my parents. Um, we don't have any cases. And it's interesting because you were talking about how young people can transmit it to elderly people, but here the retirement homes are actually filing like cases against the state because all nursing homes have been locked down, and they're complaining about the fact that they don't get to see like their children and stuff. They're like, I'm already old, I'm gonna die, and you're not letting me see my kids even though they might have corona. So that's really interesting. Yeah, they are quite upset here that older people are in lockdown. Um, yeah, my grandparents, they're struggling. They're like, "Oh, we're not gonna go touch our friends, but we're gonna sit on the patio with our friends with the wind blowing." I'm like, "Guys, come on. Wind carries stuff." But, you know, they're trying to live their best life. I understand they've never lived in
Yeah,
something like this either.
yeah, this kind of issues are very debatable. They can have like a very massive debate as of right now, but since the pandemic itself is such a issue right now, that after it calms down a little, issues with social distancing, lockdowns, and gonna rise. The main purpose why Texas is not on lockdown anymore, because of the revenue they want to generate. So everything, like everything is normal here, like nothing happened. And the from the day everything was open, right from next day, the cases shoot up so bad. And there's the thing is, now they cannot go back to having a lockdown since everyone is already in a routine schedule again. So for Texas, as of right now, everything is just gonna get worse because they have opened all the business that involves one-on-one interactions like salons, spas, pools, and all that stuff. So, and also restaurants. We had 25% occupancy when everyone was stay-at-home order, and now it's like 100%. Anyone can come, anyone can go, and you don't know who has touched the surface. So it's like people who wants to go outside, they are gonna go outside. People like us, we cook at home, so we stay inside. So yeah,
What about you,
it's
Elgin? It looked like
crazy.
you were about to say something.
Well, my personal belief on it is that so I feel like social distancing is going to stay for a while as a precautionary measure, even if after it all is said and done, which really a virus really isn't all said and done because it always tends to linger, given historical data from Black Plague and other pandemics that happened in that perspective. But there's also like a facet that was kind of like dancing around it of health and staying inside. And what kind of dawned on me being a student athlete myself, um, working out like gyms. Gyms are kind of one of those essential things that we never really thought about, especially for older people. Because for them to stay healthy, you have to have a balance of staying well rested, but also having um, a stronger immune system, which comes from working out and having, the outside experience of working out and getting active and being active. When you say stationary all the time, and staying away from sunlight specifically, it kind of weakens your immune system because you're not getting as much vitamin D and the vitamins that you're getting from the sun and the what you call it, your body isn't producing the types of uh, what's it called, necessary. I forgot the scientific word. I'm sorry, but necessary things in your body to keep your body maintaining homeostasis at an efficient level. And so with social distancing being what it is, I feel like that's an aspect that nobody really thought about because, you got to work out to stay healthy. That's how most people stay healthy because the more you work out, or, the southern term that I grew up with was the more you sweat out the toxins. So whatever you got or whatever you're trying to get rid of, it works better when you're trying to stay active. Because me, I've been just working out every day, doing whatever I can, going out for runs. Me and my friend, we'll work out, social distancing still, but we'll, still work out every day to have a good, immune system. Because as looking into the science and data of the coronavirus, it's a respiratory system problem. And for your respiratory system to get stronger, you have to do more physical exercises. And when you're staying at home, your respiratory system, especially wearing a mask, that also decreases the airflow that goes into your lungs, and it kind of weakens them slightly while protecting from the virus as well. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword in a way. But yeah, it's just an interesting anomaly that we got here. It's definitely a situation that I personally don't see going away completely anytime soon. But it just got multiple variations of aspects to think about.
Yeah, most definitely. And on that note, with your kind of medical analysis of the older generation needing to also get that physical, or everybody actually needing to get that physical activity to maintain a healthy balance in their body, I wanted to ask the question of what you guys think the medical field might look like in the future. And I'm going to specifically direct that question to Vihasi, since that's the field you're currently studying and pursuing.
So yes, as far as my field is concerned, I want to be a neurosurgeon, but that can change. I am also considering physician. Looking at how much of a frontline people are when it comes to medical field, like they are like a new god right now. I feel like the demand for occupation in the medical field itself is gonna be so high because as like I said before, that younger people have more tendency to transmit over. So all the medical field professional, by treating the patients that come in and go every single day, somewhere down the line, it's affecting personal life from the frontline doctors, nurses, and any healthcare provider as of right now. We don't know what the outcome of this is going to be as of right now until like everything cools down. But looking at what rate people are dying as of right now because of this virus, I feel like the healthcare professional is as like the highest risk. As far as like the professions are concerned, like teachers, doctors, and stuff like that, healthcare wise is like the most risky position to be working at as of right now. So I feel like by the time I step into the profession, the demands are gonna be just much more higher than they are right now. Because every year about like 15 to 20% of that specific class are going to healthcare. So the jobs were filling up pretty fast in medical field. It's so I feel like because of this pandemic, everything is gonna slow down. People are gonna start taking gap years and stuff like that because people who are gonna retire at specific time are gonna retire, but there are not gonna be enough people to kind of replace them, if that makes sense. Because of this, a lot of people are kind of backing off that like I might want to hold off before I start this. So the people retiring are gonna stay the same. The numbers are gonna stay the same because they are gonna retire at whatever age they decide to, but there are not gonna be enough people to kind of replace them. So they're always gonna be missing like hundreds and thousands of people each year because there are not enough people ready to step in. So I feel like the job availability in medical field is going to be so much higher by the time I step in, which is like about 8 to 10 years from now, I feel like it's only going to be higher. So a lot of jobs availability in medical field, as far as like I think this is what I can vision. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's super plausible, and I think that's a really insightful view into what the medical field is going to look like. I also wanted to ask I'm sorry, I'm bad at pronouncing your name. Vedangi? Could you say it one more time? And then what your opinion is?
Vedangi.
Vedangi, okay.
I think it's gonna be improving. Like every day, the medicine field is improving because they're finding new techniques and new ways. There's new tests available now for the coronavirus, so I feel like the medicine will look very different from year to year because we'll have more improvements and we'll have more input into what changes need to be made.
I think I want to input on that. So yes, I do agree that technology is improving and stuff like that, but for that technology to run, we are gonna need doctors. You know what I'm saying? So for every profession, technology, yes, technology is gonna make things a lot easier. It's not gonna replace doctors. It's gonna like kind of help doctors to treat patients. So technology, yes, it's a really great source of information and help in medical field as far as the precision is concerned. But for us to know that technology works for that specific cause, we need doctors. So I feel like technology is not gonna take up the percentage of job availability in medical field. That's my input. Like this is what I see happening. Yes, technology is like improving at a very massive rate, but I don't think it will ever be able to replace the professionals in that specific field.
Because like there's like a human connection, right? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, cause like I would think like nurses, like you can't emulate a nurse. Like you can't, because like you need that human connection. Like it's like medically important to have a human connection, especially like when you're in crisis or in crisis. Yeah.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying, that technology is gonna make results a lot more better when it comes to like diagnosis and stuff like that. Results are gonna be very precise. So it's not something like oh, my result, because I just saw a video the other day that person got cancer and he went to this one doctor who completely misguided him, and he went to another. See, second opinions come in very handy in this kind of scenario. But if we have technology on the first step itself, that is makes a process a lot more easier and lot more I mean, you get help a lot more faster than you having to go from one doctor to the other. But still, doctors are going to be necessary to kind of see if technology is doing enough to kind of help the patient. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that was really insightful, Vihasi. I really enjoy what you're saying, and I think you're going to be an awesome doctor when you go to the field. You definitely, you you know your medical business and the importance of balancing the technology with the human connection in medicine. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap this up with something fun. I hope you guys have your coronavirus 2020 memes prepared. I can go first if you all want. You guys can either hold up a picture of the meme to your screen, or you can describe it as being Shrek's biggest fan. I picked a Shrek meme. And so it says, can we go without a disaster for 5 minutes in 2020's donkey? And so essentially that wraps up how I feel about 2020. I feel like every month has a new disaster. Hopefully it won't be the whole year. Maybe we can make it to June and not have a disaster and only have like 5/12 of the year be whack. Yeah. So who wants to go next? Alessandro?
Yes. Okay. So this one has no words, but I just like when I saw it, like they tweeted it out and they're like coronavirus, and they just had this picture, and I was like, okay, it's good. So it's just, have you seen this meme where it's like the monkey, it looks, and then it just keeps looking past? I don't know. I think this is like next, like, you know what, like next level meme, like where like there has to be like a deeper level of understanding. But yeah, I don't know. That one broke me. I just kept laughing. I don't even know if it makes sense. I don't even know if that's the intention, but I just kept laughing. Yeah.
Oh no, it's funny. What about you, Elgin?
My meme that I got, it's more so like a list of all the things that has happened until then. It's kind of like starts off with January being, World War III almost started. At one point, Australia was on fire. I really haven't heard too much of the situation updated on that, so hopefully it did get better. One,
Australia is no longer on fire, it just has floods.
so they kind of reversed the situation. All right. Um, one of the world's most influential sports phenomenon in basketball passed away. Sports, this is the first time in, I think, history where almost all the sports are canceled, which is very weird for people who have been enjoying sports for the past however long sports have been around, hundreds of years almost. And I guess on TV, about 100 years. Millions of people are sick. The whole world is on lockdown. Um, the One of the world's political leaders um, arisen from the dead. I don't know, like the situation too much about that. I kind of heard it and then didn't hear about it, and then I heard that he's back. So, and we got killer hornets coming. So to America. So yeah, that's sounds like a pretty 2020 list.
Sounds like the full party's here.
Yeah, the game is here. You know.
What about you, Vedangi? Do you got a meme in mind?
I like this one. It says to keep practicing more during quarantine, but you end up watching Netflix. So I thought that was funny.
Girl, I feel that one. What about you, Hasi?
Okay, so I got this one meme. It's like specifically for seniors. I think it's really funny. I don't know if y'all can read it. It says class of 2020 been saying no cap all year, but guess what? No gown either. It's so sad, but it's like so true. And then
It is
I
though.
have this one other one if you wanna. I'm like,
True.
yep, that's me.
That's Back to the Future, right? That's
Yep, I was like, never.
okay. Yeah. Oh, those are all really good. I'm
2019,
proud of you guys.
yeah, 2019 wasn't really that great, but I'd rather have 2019 than 2020, like hands down.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Yeah, I'm impressed with you guys' memes. I'm super happy that you guys got them prepared and like thought about it. That makes me really happy. I hope everybody watching this will also enjoy the memes. I think they can all relate to all of our perspectives no matter where we come from because we're all in a difficult time. But I want to thank you guys for dedicating an hour to talk to me, to talk to each other, to um, discuss with NSHSS our different experiences in the coronavirus. Yeah. And you guys are triumphant. Keep going. I'm so proud of you. Same to everybody at home watching the video. Thank you for watching, and thank you again to all of you who have participated. I think that will close us out for the hour.